Definitely going to need a complete cardiovascular system transplant.
What? You mean?
Yep, block, pistons, carburetors, distributor, oil pump, everything.
There's only one name for this bug-eye, Lazarus. This bug-eye is about as dead can be, and since Christ don't do cars, that pretty much leaves it up to me, with the support of you folks.
Okay, let's talk about engines for a couple of minutes. Those of you who have been watching this channel for quite a while know that the engine that came in this car is not exactly in prime condition. I will now show you a few images of stuff that are kind of not good. For instance, the cylinders, someone left the spark plugs out in the rain. Well, actually left the spark plugs out and the engine was in the rain, so the cylinders got filled with nasty stuff, and the only way I could get the pistons out was basically by tearing the engine apart, and I'll show you some pictures of that and talk a little bit about that, and by just taking a 2x4 and a 3-pound rock hammer and just beating the ever-loving hell out of the pistons to get them to come out. And of course, in the process, they were kind of, at least one or two of them were smashed up a little bit. I thought that I thought I'd actually cracked the pistons, because at that time I was not aware of something called a split skirt piston, where they actually take the piston skirt and cut a slit in it, which that's designed so that if you have a situation where the piston heats up, it prevents it from jamming in the cylinder bore. The cylinders themselves were pretty much going to have to be sleeved. The carburetors were pretty much going to have to be replaced. The rocker arm shaft, I will show you that, and it is worn so much that you have to believe that that engine was just noisy as all hell while it was actually running. It actually looks like somebody just never bothered to change the oil, and supposedly the engine's got 24,000 miles on it and the car's got 24,000 miles on it. But I can believe it based upon how little wear I saw in the transmission when I tore it apart, despite the fact it was full of crap. But there's a lot of other things that, you know, the engine, it's like, what in the hell is this mess? So let's talk a little bit about what that engine's supposed to be like. Pardon me while I get on my glasses and grab the book. And the book says the number of cylinders are 4, which is true. There are 4 cylinders. Capacity is 948 cc or 57.87 cubic inches. Obviously, this is a very, very high-powered engine for a sports car. The total weight is 245 pounds, which means if you're a young man and in great physical shape, you could just basically go and pick the engine up by yourself. It creates an incredible amount of torque at 3,300 RPM. I was just astounded that this engine puts out 5.2 foot-pound, wait a minute, 5.2 pounds-feet, 52 foot-pounds of torque. When you're used to looking at modern American engines that are putting out 400, 500, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, it's like, okay. The bore. The bore is 2.478 inches, 62.9 millimeters. The stroke is 3 inches, 7.62 millimeters. Compression ratio is 8.3 to 1. Piston type aluminum split skirt, I mentioned that already. Firing order is 1342. And I'm not going to get into that. I mean, there's a whole page there and a whole page there, and I'm not going to get into everything. I'm just going to cover the kind of the real critical stuff. Now, oil capacity in the sump is 6 pints. Not quarts, pints. And it says, fill to dipstick plus 1 pint, fill to dipstick. It doesn't say fill to the fill mark on the dipstick. I wonder what that means. Plus 1 pint for filter if changed. And we'll talk about the filter in a minute. Standard crank pin diameter, you're not interested in that unless you're planning on rebuilding one of these things, in which case you'll have bought the books. Number of main bearings, 3. Obviously, high-powered engine. Standard journal sizes, undersized, length of main bearings. Yeah, we don't care about that. What do we got on this page? Main bearing clearance, don't care about that. Camshaft bearing. Let's talk about camshaft bearing type. On modern engines, you would expect to see a camshaft bearing basically at each major web in the block. Keep that camshaft going like this. This engine says there are 3 camshaft bearings. Listen to the type of camshaft bearings they are. Front, steel-backed white metal, which is kind of what you expect modern camshaft bearings to be. Center and rear, direct in crankcase. What does that mean? It means they basically put a hole through the web in the block, and there's no bearing surface in there at all. So what supports the camshaft is this front bearing and the fact that the camshaft is stuffed into the oil pump at the rear, and then these center ones are just kind of like, well, there'll be some oil that gets in there and that'll kind of hopefully keep it from flopping around too much. Yeah, but there's a problem with that. And I'm going to show you some pictures that I have never seen any other camshaft or camshaft bearing that look like these. And it's just friggin' astounding, folks. I've showed this picture to other people who professionally rebuild race engines. I mean, these people I've seen probably 5 or 6 camshaft bearings in my life, other than what I've seen where people have rebuilt on YouTube. These people have probably seen hundreds of camshaft bearings in their life. They've probably installed hundreds of camshaft bearings in their life. They have never seen a camshaft bearing that looked like this. Or, take a close look at the cam. They have never seen a cam that looked like this where it rode into bearing. So, interesting. Exhaust valve head diameter is 1 inch, and that valve is 1 3/32 of an inch. Valve seat angle is 45, valve spring length is 1 3/4 inches long. Yeah, well, that's enough about that. Ignition. The ignition type is a 12-volt coil. The distributor type is Ignition type is Lucas 12-volt coil. Distributor type is Lucas DM2 PH4 distributor. Clockwise rotation gives you the contact breaker gap, 14 thousandths to 16 thousandths. Static timing is 5 degrees before top dead center. Spark plug gap is, pardon me while I get some water. Spark plug, where's spark plug? Spark plug gap is 0.024 to 0.026 inches, roughly 25 thousandths roughly. Cooling system capacity, 10 pints. Circulation is pump and thermostat, kind of what you'd expect. Fuel system, fuel delivery is via AC Sphinx Y-type mechanical, so it comes with a mechanical fuel pump. Carburetor type is 2 SUHI semi-downdraft, we'd say downdraft in the US. Needle carbs. The gas tank capacity is amazing on this car. 27.3 liters. 7.2 US gallons or 6 imperial gallons. Air cleaner is twin pancake type, and I'm not getting into clutch, gearbox, or all that other stuff. So, that is some of the specs on the engine. Excuse me. So, I've shown you some pictures of the engine as it came apart, the different parts and all that sort of stuff, how ugly it was. I am a member of the Panhandle British Car Owners Association. I joined it just shortly after I got the car, knowing full well that it's a piece of crap. But this Car Owners Association has, I'm going to say, centuries of experience with British motor cars. And the reason I say that is there are guys in that club that are, I think one guy's in his 90s, and these guys have owned British sports cars since they were teenagers, some of them. One gentleman in particular I know, either in high school or just out of high school, actually had a Bug-Eye Sprite. So, if you get into one of these car clubs and you've got people that have worked with this stuff a long time, if you're new to the game, pick brains, ask questions. So I am going to next shut these cameras off, take the, that's what I forgot to tell you. I was in this club. We had a meeting one place. They were doing a fun little thing of basically who can create a flying valve cover. I mean, that's, how the hell do you create a flying valve cover? Very innovative, the things that people came up with. And so you've got like 40, 45 people all together, and they're flinging valve covers and things with, attached to valve covers, including one that looked like a huge manta ray. And I'm talking to people, and and they're kind of aware. Some of them are aware of the mess that I've got. And I said, yes. One of my big concerns right now is I need to find an engine. And they said, oh well, Don's got one. Oh yeah, yeah. He just brings it around to the car shows and runs it whenever we have a car show or something, he'll usually bring the engine around and run it. Talk to him and see if he'll sell it to you. So I said, okay, and I'm not a person to go out and introduce myself. I've never been a cold caller, and like they would say in sales, I'm just, I'm pretty shy and reserved because of things that happened in my childhood. We're not going to get into that, but that's why I am the way I am. I don't make phone calls to people, I'm just because I was taught not to do that. We'll leave it at that. But anyways, I finally, okay, who's Don? Somebody said, well, he's back there. So I went back and talked to him and said, I hear you've got a engine, and this is a little 4-cylinder engine. I believe they refer to it as a Type A. And he says, yeah, I've got one. Why? And I said, well, I'm trying to find one because, and I showed him pictures, the same pictures you will have seen in the video. And he had this look on his face like he was about set to lose his lunch when he saw the pictures of what I had for this mess that I've got for an engine. And he says, yeah, he says, let me think about it. So I gave him one of my cards. I said, well, think about it, let me know what you think. So he called me up a couple days later and he says, yeah, he says, I'll let you have it. And I said, okay, how much? And I'm thinking, if I buy all of the parts to fix this one, and then have to pay to have the cylinders sleeved and all this other stuff, I'm looking at $2,500 to $3,000, maybe more than that. I can get a completely rebuilt engine from England for, I think it's 2,500 or 2,700 pounds, which would be like $3,000, but then I've got to pay another $1,000 to ship it over. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this, a running engine, what's this going to cost me? And he basically said, well, how does $450 sound? And I said, oh, yeah, I mean, that sounds great, $450. And I said, the only problem I have is I've got no way of getting it over. I've got no way of picking it up and hauling it. And I said, it'd be worth an extra $50 to me, to get it delivered. And he thought for a second, yeah, you know what? For $50, I'll deliver it. I told him where I was at. And so it basically probably paid for his gas to come and bring it over to me. But he was bound determined that I had to hear it run, and it's okay, listening on the cell phone. Well, I hear an engine on a cell phone, and really, you get into one of these car groups and people know who the bad actors are, and the bad actors don't stay in the car groups very long. They get weeded out. So I knew basically that if people were saying, hey, talk to him, he was honest and reliable, and that's all that mattered to me. These people I trust you, good enough for me. So he brought it over with his friend Charlie. I think his name's Charlie. I hope it's Charlie, because I seem to remember calling him Charlie quite a bit, and he didn't seem to get bothered by it. So Charlie and Don bring the engine over, and he's got it in his pickup, and they take a couple of homemade ramps and unload it, and he starts it up. And God, it sounds pretty. I mean, especially when all you got is a piece of junk that is now in boxes and boxes and boxes of pieces of junk is what basically what I've got right now. So yeah, let me open the garage door, move these cameras outside. I will have this camera is my cell phone. I'll be hand holding it. This one I'll set up, and I'll have it running, and I'll take you around the engine a little bit more and point out some things, and then we'll fire it up and have it run. So hang on, folks, be right back. Okay, so we have radiator, obviously. These are the two SU carburetors here and here. These are the original air cleaners, just basically almost like a Brillo pad inside of there. I'm not going to get real in depth into the carburetors because that's a lot of technical stuff. There should be a hose running from here to here, which takes the gases from the top of the engine here under the rocker arms and sucks it down here. This right here, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so fuel pump normally sits down right, hold on a second. Fuel pump normally sits like right there. This is a breather tube. There is the exhaust. You have a rather complicated set of, I believe this is the throttle cable, this is the choke. The carburetors are really complex. Right here is where the temperature gauge is wired in right now. That is where you would put in the connector if you wanted to have a heater in your car. Oops, let's go this way. So you would have a thing coming up here. There's actually a little valve that you can turn on and off that allows water to go through the heater. And then that comes back around, and when it comes out of the heater, it typically comes around to an inlet pipe, whoops, which would be down here someplace in this part here. This radiator is it's been converted. The original radiator would have the water pipe coming in right here. So this particular radiator was converted for a 12, I believe they call it a 1275 engine. Now, there's an electric fuel pump on it. Like I said, the original fuel pump would be right up there. And what else do we have? I think that's mostly it. Oh, here is a drain. This is a rather interesting drain for draining the block, draining the water out of the block. Oops, try not to make you seasick. This exhaust manifold has had some repairs done on it. I'm not worried about that. I have the original from mine is good. This panel here is a heat shield that goes between the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold and the carbs. So it's designed to keep your carbs from getting too hot. The one that came on my car is bigger and wider, and I don't know if this engine is newer than my original engine or if it is older. Either one is possible. Okay, let's come around. Here is our distributor, 4 wires. The coil is mounted down here. This has a alternator on it. Originally, it had a generator sitting here, and the coil would mount up on top of the generator. On the back of the original generator, which I actually have, and I'll show that in a minute, there's a connection on the back where you get the drive that goes to the tachometer. 1, 2, 3, 4 spark plugs. Vacuum advance runs from here over to the carburetors. Right down here, which it's kind of hard to see, but right there is where there's a banjo fitting that goes to this pipe that comes around and goes down to this. This is your original, get back up here. This is your original oil filter. Now, this original oil filter has a cartridge in it, but it's not like what you would expect for a cartridge. It's actually a large chunk of felt. Big round circular chunk of felt is what the, and you can pull it out, wash it out, and do whatever. This right here is the starter. I was rather surprised on my engine that when I tested it, the starter fire just spun right around, worked great. So that was a good news. This is a solenoid, so that when you hit the ignition and all that, it does its little ditty and throws the power to everything to hook it all to the battery. So that's pretty much it. It is a beautiful tiny little engine. You can see that it's actually sitting on one of those little garden carts. And Don had it set up that temperature gauge, oil pressure gauge, throttle, ignition switch, fuel pump switch, starter button. Just for giggles, let's see what we get. I have not run it in about a week. Turn the ignition on, got a little red light, turn the fuel on. Hear the fuel pump charge up. I can smell gas, so it's probably filling up with gas someplace. And let's see if it will run. Let's give it a little. I'm probably going to ruin my paint job doing this, but yeah, it is. All right. Try doing it this way. Huh. I just put these air cleaners on. Come on. All right, ruin some more of my paint job. There. There it is, that's what it sounds like. Obviously I need to, one of the problems is that it doesn't seem to, the throttle doesn't hold very well. All right, damn it. Give it more engine crack. Okay, folks, so that's it. That is the engine that will be going into this beast. So stay tuned for when that happens. Gonna have to do a lot of work before it does, but I'll be pulling this out every now and then and just test running it to make sure it's running and in good shape. So that's the engine. What I forgot to tell you was that not only did I get the engine, I also got the battery and the cart. And a little Honda, whatever it is, gas tank to go with it, and some other things. And all in all, as far as I'm concerned, it was one hell of a deal. It takes and removes a lot of the concern that I had. So please, please, please do me a favor. Like this video, go down and make a comment on this video, even if it's a comment saying, I think you're an idiot and you're just wasting money doing this. Likes and comments are what get videos recommended to other people. And I can really use the help in growing this channel. If you can afford the $5 a month on Patreon, please become a member on Patreon. I'm looking into having a membership, setting up so people can become members on YouTube. However, YouTube takes a much bigger cut of the money than Patreon does. I'm also looking at whether or not I can set these videos up and load them up to Rumble and perhaps even Twitter. So if you would like to see these videos on Twitter or Rumble, or would seriously considering paying for a subscription and joining up on YouTube, make a comment down below. Let me know. I think I've told you I try to do this a little bit different from the way that a lot of other channels do it. I am trying to show you the good, bad, and the ugly of the whole process. I kind of have fun when I make a mistake and learn something new and share it along with you folks. I learn an awful lot from other channels. I probably, within the next couple of weeks, may actually spend time doing a video just on the other channels that on YouTube and Patreon that I watch, and some of the things that I've learned from those folks. I've had people who've watched my videos that have worked on cars come back and tell me, that obviously have more experience than me, come back and tell me, oh, I didn't, I never thought of doing that way. So we can all learn from each other, and hopefully I try to put a little bit of humor into things along the way, and hopefully I'm putting out some content that's enjoyable to you folks. It actually surprisingly costs a lot of money to restore one of these things. It's not for the faint of heart, but it helps if you're real rich, and I'm not real rich. So any support that you folks can provide is greatly, greatly appreciated. One of the things is you've got to get equipment, and you've got to get tools and things like that. And even though it's Sunday, one of the things that Amazon delivered to me today is a bunch of welding clamps. So there's another chunk of money buying welding clamps, which back when I did a lot of woodworking, one of the things that people kept saying is, you know, you can never have enough clamps. Oops, what the hell is that? Parts falling out. Oh, that's what it was. It was that thingy. Well, you know what, folks? You can never have enough clamps. Never, never, never have enough clamps. So there's 4 more clamps, and they are going to be used clamping in the pieces that I'm going to be welding into place to fix this big bloody hole right here, which, if you've been watching my channel, you'll know what that's all about. Now, I will be putting links to the playlists for the, I'll be putting links for the playlist for the engine. And I'm going to start, I've been kind of working things out. I'm new at this stuff. Hopefully I'm getting better. And I will be trying to put together playlists and links at the end of videos that, show you, well, if you want to learn more about this part, go over here and you can check it out there. So that's kind of where things are going. Oop, shut that off. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for making comments. I really enjoy the comments. I actually have people tell me some really good information in the comments. Sometimes we have a little fun poking fun at each other in there, but I enjoy it. So like, subscribe, share it with other people. If you think I am doing a good job, share it with other people and say, hey, check this guy out. If you think I'm doing a bad job, share it with other people and tell them, look at what this idiot's doing. Have a little fun, folks, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay, folks, that's it for this episode of BugeyeBob. I really appreciate you watching and hope that, like me, you've learned a few things in this episode. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video and share it with others. You can help support this project by becoming a member at patreon.com/BugeyeBob in the link below. Patreon paid members get early access to the videos, and in the future will enjoy question and answer sessions and live streams. As this channel grows, future Patreon member benefits will include bonus or extended episodes, member names and credits, and the ability to suggest topics for future videos. You can follow this BugeyeBob restoration on YouTube and Facebook at the links below. Once again, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and supporting this channel. And remember that sometimes the most important job you can do is a dirty, thankless job.